So you're probably watching this video because you're either relocating to Denver, or maybe you already live here and you want to see what other people's opinions are on the pros and cons of living in Denver. And those are the things that I want to touch on before you make the big decision to either relocate here or move to a different spot around the city. So let's jump right into it and discuss all of the pros and cons of living in Denver, Colorado. My name is Chad Johnerson and I am your Denver Modern Agent. Welcome back to another video, or welcome if this is your first time coming across the channel. And yes, as much as I love making these videos, I am a licensed realtor here in Denver, Colorado. So if you need help finding anything real estate related, go ahead and drop me a comment, give me a call, send me a text, shoot me an email, however you need to get a hold of me. All my contact information is down in the description, but let's get right into this with the cons of living in Denver. The first thing is altitude adjustment. I've heard it from people that have come from sea level cities. They come here and they say, man, like the air just feels so thin. I find myself needing to catch my breath. I can't personally attest to that because I grew up in Montana, so I'm very used to this type of altitude. But I will say, when I relocated from living in Bozeman, Montana out to Boston, yeah, I definitely noticed the difference at being at sea level. The air was, it felt a lot thicker. I know that sounds really weird way to describe air, but that's just kind of how it felt for me. So be aware of that, especially if you're doing outdoor sports, hiking, snowboarding, skiing, biking. You are definitely going to notice that altitude and that much thinner air. You're going to find yourself catching your breath a little bit more. The next thing I want to touch on is rising housing costs. Everybody knows it. I mean, it's just been kind of the theme. No matter where you have lived in the United States over the last couple of years, the housing market has been going crazy. Denver is no exception. We've seen massive appreciation. We're probably likely going to see another double-digit year of appreciation in real estate in Denver. But another thing I want to touch on housing costs is rent. Rent is very, very expensive also in Denver. I lived on my own for a while in a one-bedroom apartment, and that got to be pretty pricey. I mean, it was running me about $1,600 to $1,700 a month with all of my utilities and everything included. So it can get pretty pricey. So if you have the luxury of living with a roommate, definitely take advantage of that. If you're moving out here with a friend, or you know someone that lives here, see if they want to, roommate up with you and go find a house or another apartment to rent and alleviate some of that rental cost. Now, the next thing I want to touch on is public transportation is not super robust unless you are living in the Denver metro area. So like literally the city of Denver, or even out in Aurora, it's pretty good. But once you get out into the suburbs, on the north side, like I'm talking Broomfield, Superior, Lafayette, Erie, Thornton on the north end. And then if you look at the southern side, that's kind of like Parker, down in the Centennial, Lone Tree, those areas, Littleton, it can be a little bit tougher to get access to the public transportation. Now, there is both bus systems and train systems here in the Denver metro area, a part of our RTD, which does a pretty good job getting people to and from, point A to point B, especially if, you're staying in the city. It also runs out to the airport. But just know that when you're relocating to Denver or wherever you're moving to, you're moving out into the suburbs, you're likely gonna need a car and you're gonna be driving quite a bit. Now, that brings me to the next point, is that traffic can be absolutely terrible. Depending on the time of the day, it ultimately depends, where you're coming from, where you're going to, and what interstates you are on. If you're coming in from the north side of Denver on I-25, expect, to hit traffic during rush hour. And then there's a cut across from I-25 to I-70, this interstate that's I-270. And that thing can get so backed up. So if you're living up on the north end of Denver Metro and you have to commute over to Aurora, you are definitely gonna hit some traffic on 270. Like, plain and simple, there is no way around it. It always seems to be an issue unless it's like 3 in the morning or late in the afternoon. Like honestly, late in the afternoon, it still can get bad. Maybe like late in the evening. So the next thing I want to talk about, which honestly kind of relates to traffic too, is winters can be long, and that also causes issues with traffic around the city. I mean, expect winters to last anywhere from September to April. You know, it could be a 6-month winter. Now, sometimes though, it can be very, very moderate. Denver itself doesn't get a ton of snow, but it is fairly cold throughout those months. I mean, we're talking, you know, mainly in the 40s all the way down, sometimes into the negative degree temps. It can get cold at times, just kind of be aware. I mean, I will say there have been times where I was able to go golfing in February, which sounds absolutely crazy, but you do kind of get those sunshiny bluebird days where things warm up and you can kind of get out and do some of the other activities that you wouldn't do without the winter or snow being on the ground, right? The next thing is we have seen some serious growth. Like there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Denver has been absolutely exploding in popularity, mainly because it's kind of in the Sun Belt. So it's a very moderate temperature state. A lot of people are moving here. We've experienced, you know, this massive growth, a lot of influx from businesses, and people just relocating here to work here primarily for that outdoor work-life balance, right? So the infrastructure has also been an issue as a result of that. I mean, Denver was a relatively small metro area until the recent years, and the growth has just been absolutely exploding. So the infrastructure just isn't up to speed for a lot of what is needed for the city of Denver. They're making advancements in that, adding, you know, new housing developments, new condominiums in downtown, new apartments, try to alleviate some of the pressure of, you know, all this traffic commuting into Denver, because a lot of the people that are working in Denver are commuting in from suburbs, whether it be from the north side of Denver or the south side of Denver. Now, another con, which can be looked at as a pro as well, is Denver is a serious sports and outdoor city. Like, that is the main focus. So if you don't like sports and you don't like spending time outdoors, you're probably gonna have a hard time. If you don't like those things, Denver might not be the city for you, but hey, that's why you're here. You wanna learn about these things. The last thing that I wanna touch on kind of has this crowding feeling, right? To accommodate all of the growth that we've had, the developers that are developing a lot of these houses in the suburbs, you know, you're not getting a ton of land, especially with these, you know, new build homes, which primarily is what I focus on. Like, I'm gonna be blatant and honest with you guys, you're not getting much of a yard with a lot of these homes. There are certain developments where you can go and purchase these 1-acre parcels with homes on them, but you're paying a premium for that land. Land here is definitely scarce and very sought after. So if you can get your hands on a good chunk of land, it's super desirable. A lot of people definitely want land, and that's one of the main things I think that I run into when people are talking to me. Like, I want to make sure that we have, you know, enough space in our yard for dogs to run around or to be able to, you know, play touch football or throw a baseball. And there are some homes, I'm not going to say it's not impossible to find those, but just be aware that a lot of the community densities, they keep these homes very, very close together. Just keep that in mind as well. So the pros of Denver is it is absolutely beautiful here. Like, don't get me wrong, this state is gorgeous. Colorado as a whole is absolutely gorgeous, and Denver is this awesome mix of, you know, this urban lifestyle, being able to escape out to the great outdoors and the mountains and do whatever it is. It's kind of breathtaking the first time you see, you know, the mountains driving in from the airport. They're massive. They're just towering over the city. It's just this really cool juxtaposition of the city against the backdrop of the mountains. The second pro that I want to touch on, which is my personal favorite, it's sunny here like all the freaking time. Don't tell anyone I told you that, but 300 days of sunshine. It's perfect. I love it. I absolutely love it here because of that. So that obviously leads into another pro of there's tons of outdoor activity, which I said previously that could be a con. If you don't like outdoor activity, Denver might not be for you, but if you do, it can be awesome, right? You have all sorts of hiking, biking, golfing, skiing, snowboarding, snowmobiling, four-wheeling, fishing, hunting, literally everything and anything that you could really want to do outdoors. You can do it within a relatively short drive of Denver. Now, the cost of living outside of housing specifically is actually fairly reasonable. You know, buying a meal around here or doing grocery shopping, getting gas, honestly, you're not seeing like the crazy inflated gas prices like you would be seeing out in California. Not seeing that. So the cost of living, honestly, is relatively inexpensive in comparison to a lot of other states around the United States. The next thing I want to touch on is for us millennials. Denver is one of the best cities in the country for millennials to live in. it has a population that is actually roughly about 23% millennials. That means, you know, you got a lot of people our age moving here, living here, working here, just trying to make life happen here. And it's really cool. There's a really cool scene for us millennials and being able to network and meet other people that are kind of in that same phase of their life where they're trying to grind and maybe, you know, start businesses or whatever it might be. That makes Denver a super unique city for our generation specifically. Now, with that, there is great beer and there is amazing food, honestly, in Denver. You just got to know where to find it. I've heard people say, hey, the food there, it's not that good. I mean, I'd beg to differ. If you know where you're going, you know the right spots to get decent food, and it's really, there is some great food out there. And the beer scene here is crazy. If you love breweries, you will have no shortage of breweries to try out while you're living here in Denver. But me personally, I'm more of a whiskey guy. And honestly, the whiskey scene here is the distilleries. There are some pretty popular distilleries out here too. Now, I touched on the fact that it is an outdoor city. So they have, you know, great snow for the outdoor sports. Arguably, I would say probably some of the best snow in the Rocky Mountains. It's light, it's fluffy, it's perfect for skiing and snowboarding. It is great for snowmobiling, especially up by like Steamboat Springs, which is a couple hours away from Denver. But the snow, honestly, it cannot be beat. It's not like anything that you're going to experience in the Cascades. Definitely something to experience if you haven't been out here and skied and snowboarded or done any winter sports out here. Definitely come try it out one time at least before you make that commitment. But fair warning, if you drive on the weekend to go skiing or snowboarding, oh my gosh, this should have been my cons. Be prepared for some traffic. It is going to be bad, like really bad. For example, I left at 5:30 a.m. one weekend on a Saturday. It took me and my girlfriend 3 hours to get up to the mountain, just to put that in perspective. And the mountain it's literally only about an hour drive with no traffic. Just be ready for some traffic when you go up on the weekends. Or just go up on the weekdays and you don't have any of that. So the next thing I want to touch on is that the job market actually is phenomenal here in Denver. You have a bunch of tech, you got the defense industry here, you have honestly great marketing agencies around here too. There's just so much opportunity and for growth and for industries to be here. I mean, you're getting Amazon fulfillment centers being built all the time. It seems like there's a new one every year. I don't know, it's crazy. But we're the 12th for the highest median income, 12th in the nation, which is, that's phenomenal. Our middle grade salary is pretty substantial. And with the cost of living not being super crazy high, you can make a pretty decent living here. Now, the last thing that I want to touch on is education. So Colorado is the 5th most educated state in the United States. You have great opportunity for phenomenal education if you're coming here for school. Denver University is very highly ranked. And then you have all other great universities around CU Boulder, up in Boulder, and then CSU in Fort Collins. So you have pretty much the whole spectrum in terms of a very well-rounded economy and being able to have the opportunity that you need living in Denver. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be so kind. Leave me a like. It helps get my content out there to other people to be able to see it. And leave me a comment. If you're thinking of moving out here to Denver, I'd like to know. I would like to know where you're thinking of moving to or living in, what city. And I'd be happy to help you out, give you some advice. Or if you need help, honestly, with relocation, buying or selling in this area, feel free to reach out to me however you need to. My contact information is down below. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.